Greetings, friends. I'm with my Grandpa Robert again in midsummer. And Grandpa, what's your opinion on democracy?
Well, I don't know whether you are asking what is happening right now.
No,
here.
I just mean in general. Is democracy a good thing or a bad thing, or is some democracy good, or is some people say we should have more democracy, some people will say we should have less.
Basically, democracy is good because democracy, collects people's feelings and opinions, and we have to assume that these are good things, that people have good reasons, good feelings, and good behavior. And if that is so, then it is good that these lines are followed, in people's lives, and not only in people's but also, that's still people in towns, in cities, in democracies.
But you said that democracy collects people's opinions and feelings?
Well, I feel that it does.
Yeah, I guess so. But democracy is about giving political power, giving the vote to the masses, to the general population.
You can call.
That's what democracy is.
You can call whatever name you decide
now,
to a certain situation.
But let me explain myself. Democracy has not always existed in history. For most of history, there was no democracy. Just kings and emperors.
Well, it was basically it was the involvement or change that by various conditions or so happened to be concentrated in certain people or certain lines of people.
What do you mean? I don't understand.
Well, like for instance, take now I'm talking years ago, when a big country, Russia, was a communist country,
right,
and many other countries were opposite, and we have to believe. We find
right. That was I see what you're saying. Communist Russia was no democracy,
no.
But also Tsarist Russia was no democracy either.
What?
The Russia before the communists was also not democratic.
But what was the other one?
When the Tsar, when the king.
Oh,
in Russia.
Oh,
that was no democracy
you mean
either.
The government, the Tsars.
Yeah, that was not democracy either.
All right. That means to say that democracy is probably also have got some faults, because ideally it may not have any. Ideally, that is the thing what is spread by groups of people and so on, and succeeded by governments. But also, as opposite to that, are some other trends.
Right, some other forms of government that aren't so good. But now we live in a democracy where people can vote, everyone can vote, but we don't feel like we have much power because the power is in the hands of the big banks the corporations, the ones with money. Money is power now.
Yeah.
So you see,
Well,
democracy has a lot of problems.
Well, that's a difficult problem.
Let me ask you this: are most people smart enough and responsible enough to participate in a democracy?
Well, I have to say, not.
You say no. Sorry, your answer was no, right? I didn't hear what you said.
What I mean is that there is a huge various mass of different opinions, and these different opinions are, let's say, massive. They are political. They are in all other lines, and and they are grown up from individuals, from listening to various kinds of sponsors, again, who have certain trend. They get some goodness out of something which may not be good to everyone.
Yeah, good for them, but not for the whole society, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's the problem that I'm trying to get you to comment on.
Well, naturally, we have all, I think, have the same opinion that the good should succeed, whatever the good is, the line.
What is the good?
Well, should succeed in life, so that this, what we have named goodness, that does not get lost, but gets carried on and probably improved. I know that I'm using words very
generally.
Very generally.
Right. When there's your favorite
yeah.
word. Listen, I think we're missing the point here. Like, should children be able to vote? Should a 12-year-old be able to vote? Should women be able to vote?
Women vote, yes. The basis of this is that, in my opinion, there is no difference between men or women. They are both human beings with the same life directions or intentions or how to say, certain lines which, like laws and so on.
Like laws? What? I don't know what you're talking about there.
Well,
isn't it a bad idea for children and women to vote? Doesn't that lead to more government?
No, it's not. You have to split.
The people who founded the United States,
Yeah.
the founding fathers, they did not want democracy to be expanded to all the citizens. They just wanted a certain number of responsible men who own property to vote. Because they thought if everyone gets the vote, then they're just going to take what they can from the wealthy. It becomes, they called it tyranny of the majority. The majority outnumbers you. So this leads to communism eventually, in some situations.
Well, the only way in life, you see, the practical way that exists, things exist, yeah. There is majority or minority or that shape or that shape. There is no absolute...
What's wrong with kings? What's wrong with having a monarchy? What's wrong with having a king?
What's wrong of having a king?
Yeah, what's the problem? I don't see any problem with it.
Well, the problem is not only in the king, but what the king has built up around it.
What's wrong? What do you mean? What he's built
In
up?
other words, how all the opinions or rules or laws, there is those people who make them. A lot of them have made them so that they are beneficial.
Yeah, that's true, but the same thing happens in democracy.
Yeah,
But with a monarchy, at least the king can be held accountable for his mistakes. Whereas in a democracy, it's more difficult to hold people accountable because
Well,
the people can
that's why-
can disappear into the masses, or they can just disappear to their estates.
that's why the model of democracy is preferable. There are no kingdoms that come out from the earth that are born or what. That's all opinions.
But Grandpa, you know that I've explained to you before, I don't know if you remember, but Canada, white people are no longer such a majority. Maybe, basically the number of white people in Canada is lower and lower every year, proportionally, as a percentage of the population. So we're being, we're having many other ethnic groups come into the country.
I didn't
And these
know.
people are going to vote differently.
I didn't know that.
These people are going to vote with different priorities.
Well,
So doesn't this show that there's a serious problem with democracy? If you're open to everyone, if you're giving power to everyone in the society, but the society is multicultural. There's different cultures competing.
yeah.
Don't you see that's a problem?
That's a big problem there because all people cannot be identical.
Well, you said men and women were identical just a few minutes ago, which I don't agree with.
That's right.
But I don't agree with that. Men and women aren't identical. And they'll vote for different kinds of government. Men like to have more freedom, women like to have more protection. And that's natural. Like you like to say natural. That's natural. That's the general pattern.
Well, I mean, generally, if is how we define things, like they are men and women. Nobody can say that the men are better and the women worse.
No, it doesn't mean they're better or worse. But they're
the
different.
other way
They're
around.
different. That doesn't mean better or worse, but they have different mindsets,
They've got different mindsets, and
which leads to different political
Yeah.
outcomes if you
And
give them
there
all
is-
political power.
And it must be said, really, that the difference is vital. If there was no difference, then it would tend to collect and grow in one direction or one section.
Right. So
That's not possible.
So to conclude this video, let me just ask you one final question in conclusion. What do you think of the original idea of the founding fathers of the United States who thought that you can have a democracy, but it needs to be limited? What is your view on having limited democracy? Like
well,
like
maybe,
you need to have what they call patriarchy, which they're trying to destroy right now.
Maybe
You need to have
that-
strong men, successful men, men who believe in God, men who are moral,
Yeah.
and they're the ones, and therefore you can check a tyrant. You can check a king who's not doing the right thing. But you don't want to give power to everyone, right? So what
Yeah.
do you think about having limited democracy? Does that sound like a good idea?
So that just women would have democracy.
No, just a few men. Most men wouldn't be able to vote. Most women wouldn't be able to vote. Probably you should have only one culture in your country too. You shouldn't have like
Wait a
you
minute.
shouldn't have multiculturalism, all that
So
stuff.
that is what it is now.
I'm describing the opposite of what we have right now. I'm describing the opposite. Right now, everyone can vote. We have all sorts of different cultures, all voting.
Yeah.
There's nothing sacred. There's no, there's no
Well,
one religion or
well-
or there's no one system that everyone belongs to.
Well, you see, since there is, let's say, 1,000 people, each one has his own body, his own thinking. He's a unit,
No, but he's also part of a group.
and it is part of a group, but it is changeable. So
What do you mean changeable? Not interchangeable though. You cannot replace white people with Somalian people and expect to have the same society. You cannot replace Japanese people with white people and
Yeah.
expect to have the same Japanese society. So
Yeah.
people are not interchangeable. People are part of a group, always part of a
That's
group.
right. That's right, and
People are individuals,
I think.
but they're part of a group, always.
I think it has to be that way because that's the only. You see, if there is, well, things are best if they grow and improve. If they grow, then the trend, whether to improve or go down, depends on people's opinions. Since most people want to be, to be growing, to be good, then this fact is good that there are that many people and that they follow the democracy or whatever you might call. And the other thing is the democracy. If your inner is satisfied, well, then that's good, because if all people would have the inside satisfaction, mind you, not there is not quite. They may be good, but in this direction, and they may be good in that direction. So
I'm not satisfied. I think we need a king in Canada. Well, we have the queen, but she doesn't have any real power. We need a real king, because the king gets his authority from God.
say that again.
The king gets his authority from God.
Yeah.
But a president or prime minister, they don't get their authority from God. They just get their authority from regular voters.
Yeah, but that is
Mundane
considered
potato
the same.
people.
That's considered the same.
No, it's not the same.
Or basically all types of differences in this sense. Different people, different opinions, different directions. They have been experienced and experienced like by many groups in every country and so on, and they finally have settled or arrived at a certain, okay, these are going to rule us, and these will be watching them and interfering them, so that in total the whole wig is a kettle, which sort of heats up and emit burbles and so on, and all are about in the same condition.
So do we want to prevent the kettle from heating up? We don't want the kettle to overflow?
Well, yeah. Of course, all these have to be observed and guided or limited or whatever. That's why there are different governments, different laws, but all they follow a certain direction, the same direction. Difficult to say, but there's a certain model which most people have accepted. Oh yeah, that seems reasonable. Certain model of government, and various people have accepted it. I mean, not identical. Identical you can't be, but similar, good.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.